Hi, everyone. Let's go ahead and get started with Lance. Raise your hand if you have questions. And Mark, we'll go ahead and start with you.
Hey Lance, this is Mark from the Touch 'em Up podcast. How you doing?
Doing well. How about you?
I'm doing good. Coming into the 2022 season, a lot of people will say that they've made vast improvements every camp, and that's kind of the deal with mixed martial artists. Is every camp you sharpen up your skills. If you had to pinpoint one area of your game that you feel you've sharpened up the most from last season to this season, what do you think is your biggest improvement coming in here?
I would say my jiu-jitsu alone. After last season, I basically did a lot of grappling, a lot of jiu-jitsu. I did the no-gi worlds for IBJJF and won that and got my black belt in October. And so I focused a lot on that. Let my body heal up from last season and just kind of regrouped with grappling and kind of got a lot better with that. And a guy back home, Dante Leone, he's one of the pound for pound best guys in grappling right now. He's only 2 hours from me, so we did a lot of training together, a lot of cross training. He would come down and train with us at Matt Brown's gym in Columbus a lot. So in my time away from actual fight camp, I would say that I made the most improvements in jiu-jitsu.
Awesome, Lance. Awesome, Lance. And when it comes to grappling, like you said, you did the no-gi worlds. Like that's a different world compared to MMA. But do you feel like it's almost imperative for a lot of fighters at the highest level to do those grappling tournaments on the side when you're waiting for your next fight to get announced or a fight camp to start? Do you think it's like very important to do that? Waiting to get your next fight.
I think everybody's different. I mean, some people just like to take time off completely, or some people just go in the gym and hit the bag or hit mitts, or just, everybody has their own thing that helps them, you know, with coping with a loss or whatever it may be. Or for me, it was just I wanted to get back into training and not have um, too much banging up on my body. So I kind of just got right back into it, and it was kind of like my buddies from back home. There's a couple black belts in Columbus who were like, "Hey man, we're all doing the no-gi worlds. I think you should do it." Because I go in and help those guys with wrestling, and we would work on jiu-jitsu together. And I was like, "I'll think about it." So it was kind of like a month out from the no-gi worlds when I was like, "Yeah, I'll do it." And I was brown belt at that time, so I competed at brown belt, and my original jiu-jitsu coach Dustin Akbari was there, and he knew I was competing, so he basically was like, "Man, if you win this thing, I'll give you your black belt on the podium." So that was kind of like an added benefit because I'd been a brown belt for like 5 years, but I don't really compete in jiu-jitsu itself or IBJJF anyway. So that was kind of an added incentive for me. It was like, man, I feel like I'm a black belt grappler, but never really got awarded my black belt. So I felt like that was just something to keep my mind in a kind of tunnel vision and focus on something and focus on a new accomplishment. So I think it was good, but I don't think everybody needs to do outside competitions. I think it is great for it. I think it helps your jujitsu. It helps just a competitive mindset because it's not a fight, right? So you go into it, things can happen, like you can break a bone or you can hurt a joint and stuff like that. But as far as like you're not getting hit in the face, and you can work and compete and still enjoy traveling and going to these competitions. So I think jiu-jitsu is kind of the safest way to do that, I guess you could say.
Thank you, Lance. Thank you for your time and best of luck
That's good.
this season.
Thank you.
All right, Mark,
Max?
start us off, please.
Hey Kyle, this is Mark from the Touch 'em Up podcast. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good, Mark. How you doing? Well, thank you.
Good. Good. I have talked to Jake Manini, Rob Font, Kelvin Cater, Tyson Chartier on my podcast before. I've actually probably had them on more than anybody. And since you left the UFC, I know you've worked with Jake on your striking, probably out of Hard Knocks Boston. I'm not 100% sure on that, so you can correct me if I'm wrong. But what do you think is the biggest improvement in your striking game that you've made since you left the UFC?
The biggest improvement in my striking game is just mixing it up, varying up the tempo, keeping the jab in your face, exiting off the combos, and just keeping the pressure.
Thank you. Do you feel that your volume has gone up substantially in like these last few fights? Do you feel like your combos have gotten a lot smoother? And you said varying up the tempos, but sometimes, touch, 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 rip, rip. Do you feel
Yeah.
like that has improved
Yeah.
vastly in your last few fights?
Yeah, I think I'm feeling a lot more comfortable on my feet, so my striking volume has gone up exponentially. I'm not looking for the home run shot every single time. I'm not getting right hand happy. I'm varying up the tempo, so I'm allowing to put more power on shots because I'm not trying to kill guys every single shot. So I've been able to mix it up, different ranges, leg kicks, calf kicks, body kicks, teeps, flying knees, spinning back fists, anything. So, and I got cardio for days, so my volume has gone up.
Okay. And then my last question, you're coming into this fight against somebody who I think was heavily expected to get towards the finals in the last season. I think a lot of people expected him to, get far, and it didn't really work out for him. He had some great performances as well, but coming into your first PFL season, I'm sure you're coming in here, you're looking to put a stamp on that first victory. You're looking to come in here and make a statement, but what is your message to your opponent coming into this first fight of the 2022 season for you?
I'm going to make my mark known. I'm coming here to shake up the division. After this fight, the underdog is going to be on top, and everybody's going to hope they're not going to get matched up against me. I'm a late notice. Bubba's opponent, I don't even know who it was, got hurt. I fought 3 weeks ago. I'm already in the mindset. I don't care who's in front of me. Bubba's the name. It doesn't really matter. Any one of these guys in this division can get it, and I'm a terrible matchup for anyone.
Thank you, Kyle, and best of luck in your first fight.
Thank you. You got it, man.
Last one, Mark.
Hey, Kyle, Mark from the Touch 'Em Up podcast again, and it doesn't seem like a lot of people have brought this up, so I wanted to bring this to your attention. You have a teammate in Rob Font who's coming up, having a fight very soon, actually the main event against Marlon Chito Vera. Does that give you extra motivation in this camp, being like one of your brothers, one of your teammates, one of your training partners is, coming up almost at the same time as you? You're both having fights very close to each other. Does that give you extra motivation to be like, man, I'm just going to come in here and, I'm putting this guy away?
Yeah, I mean, Rob's got a big fight on the horizon. I got a big fight in the horizon. I'm going to be the first one to go, so I'm going to set the tone, get this dub, and it'll carry over for him.
Awesome, man. Thank you.
You
And
got it.
Best of luck in your first fight.
Thank you.
Mark.
Hey, Chris. This is Mark from the Touch 'Em Up podcast, man. How you doing?
Hey, what's up, Mark?
Not much. I'd like to start it off with, obviously, last season, first time down at 45. You come in, you get to the finals, you get to the championship. Obviously, those don't go your way, but you had a great season throughout the season. Great performances, great wins. I think the scrambling and wrestling ability you showcased against Bubba Jenkins really kind of put people on notice a little bit extra. You came in, got that first knockout of your career in the tournament, and then you put on that great performance against Bubba Jenkins. But going into this season, without having Movlid Haibulaev in the bracket for 145, do you feel like you're kind of like the uncrowned champion going into this season? And it's kind of for a lack of better terms, but he's not here. Do you feel like you're going to come in and you're coming for the finish right away? Like you have a little bit of extra motivation coming into this season?
Yeah, that's exactly what my mindset is Movlid, he won the title last year. He's the champ from last year, but he's not here this year. And then when you look at everything else, with the season that I had and with the improvements that I've made since then, I feel like I'm the guy here. And I'm sure everybody feels like they're the guy. They're gonna tell you that, but I put the results out there, and I always put the results out there every year, whether it's 55 or here. It's me down to the nitty gritty at the end. So with him not being here, I feel like this is my division.
100%, Chris. And coming into this fight, you train out of, I believe it's MMA Islip out in Long Island. Am I off by a little bit? But I know we talked a little bit on the interview. But who is your biggest like training partner for your camps, especially going into this season? Who's the guy you get the most work out of in, leading up to this 2022 season? Who's the guy? If there's multiple, just who has made you improve the most going into this year?
Yeah, well, I have training partners, right? And those guys, like my partner here with me, Hugh McKenna, um, and then I have Brian Kelleher at Long Island MMA. I have, we have a really young crew of guys, so a lot of those guys are not up at the level where you guys would know them yet, but they're young, hungry group, and I prefer to be with those guys right now, honestly, in my career, because they push me every single day. They challenge me every single day. So between my coaches, Ryan LaFleur, Greg T. Pasquale, Keith Trimble, and then that young core of guys, that stable that we have coming up, it's a really good mix for me. Some people like the big gyms where they're kind of button heads with big name guys every day, but I like the work and the concentration I get in a little bit of a smaller gym.
Absolutely, and it's always those guys that people don't really know yet that you're working with, kind of behind the scenes because they don't have the name recognition. Those are usually the guys that give you the most improvement anyway, because they're not getting bombarded with interview questions and media questions all the time. So I feel like that's kind of MMA's secret weapon as the years have gone on. There's always that those one or two training partners that people don't know yet, and you bring them up and they're kind of like, I don't really know who that is, but I'll keep a lookout for him. And then a year, 2 years, 3 years down the line, they're up at the top.
Yeah, that's McKenna that I have here with me. Like I know if you put him in a room with, doesn't matter who, PFL, UFC fighters, he'll be finishing guys, and but people don't really know who he is, and that's awesome. I love it.
Yeah, man, and best of luck, Chris, and I can't wait to see you perform.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Tutor. Mark.
Hey, Brendan, this is Mark from the Touch 'Em Up podcast, man. How you doing?
Hey, brother.
My question comes in the form of obviously your opponent. I think he's a guy who's not extremely well known when it comes to PFL. Obviously, he's not an extremely well known fighter, but if you watch his highlights, if you watch him compete, the guy can throw down. He's got good striking, and I know you're a striker at heart. Do you feel like this is a matchup that you're extremely hyped up and pumped for because you're going to be going in there against another guy who's going to want to come forward and strike with you?
I mean, yes and no, because I've ended up with like the wild card. I've ended up with the guy that nobody really knows, but he's super dangerous. And when you get the guys like Wade and Palmer and Bubba and the guys that have been around, there's loads of footage and, they're like marquee names. And when you beat them, people are like, oh, he beat this guy. But I've ended up with the guy who's coming over from Japan. It's his first season, but he's tough as nails. So, he looks like he's more of a striker, but I've also seen him shooting in his fights as well. So we're prepared for anything, man. It's been a long training camp. So, I'm more than prepared for any of these guys this year. There's 9 other guys in it, and I'm preparing for every one of them. Not one in particular, every single one of them.
Right, and do you think that with the way the PFL works, the tournament style and how you get a little bit of time off, like you mentioned already, and then you're back into training camp, but you're always training.
Yep.
Do you feel like the tournament aspect gives you guys a little bit more of motivation because, like you said, like you kind of have an idea of who you're going to be going up against, but you don't really know until that fight is over, and then you can look towards your next opponent. But does that give you more motivation to have that tournament style, kind of like old school tournament style going through everybody?
Here's what I love about the PFL. It doesn't matter how many Instagram followers you got. It don't matter about how popular you are. It don't matter about any of that. You get a text message and it says you're fighting this guy on this day. You got no choice. There's not 3 options. It's this guy. Take it or leave it. And that's what I love about the PFL. No one can dodge nobody. All the hard fights, everybody's at a high level. And the fact that every year they just roll the dice again and bring in new talent, it's just super exciting.
100%, man. I think you couldn't have answered that question any better. If you have one message for your opponent, this newcomer, this wild card, what is it?
Welcome to PFL. Welcome to USA. I'm going to go and show them some British steel. You know what I mean?
Good, man. And best of luck in your first fight, Brendan.
Thank you, bro.
Mark.
Hey, Brendan, Mark from the Touch 'em Up podcast again. You mentioned a little bit about your training partners, your training camp. You mentioned two names in particular in Piotr Jan and Hamzat Chimaev. I just wanted to know, have you gotten the chance to work with Chimaev, whether it's grappling, whether it's sparring, whether it's, any type of training drills? Have you gotten to work with him? And we saw his amazing fight against Gilbert Burns. They went to war. It was crazy from bell to bell. But what was it like to get to work with Chimaev, or if you didn't work with him, get to at least see him around the gym and putting in work with some other high-level fighters?
I actually missed Chimaev by one day. I landed and he just left. He'd been there for a month before me, but he was around the gym that I was in. Peter Yan, this is the second training camp I've done with Peter Yan. Great training partner, amazing person as well. Like, this guy's a really, really good-hearted fella. Like, I'll give you an example. There was a lady that broke her nose on a banana boat accident. Peter donated quite a bit of money to that, and then there was like a cleaner in the hotel we were staying at, bought him a motorbike so he could get to and from work, and then doesn't publicize any of this, but Peter's a really good guy and he deserves a lot of credit in the sport.
Yeah, he's got the nickname of No Mercy, but behind the scenes he's a little different, huh?
Peter's a great guy. Peter is a fantastic guy. His coach is even better, Kairat. Shout out to them and their team. Great guys, really enjoyed working with them. It was like going back to old school martial arts. It was the bowing, it was the shaking hands, straight drills, the crazy Soviet music, bum, 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 bum. It was just like, wow, but it was amazing. I really, really enjoyed this training camp with them.
Awesome, man. Yeah, Peter looks like a pretty good dancer for some of the clips that have showed up on Instagram. Looks like he likes to get down during training camp, huh?
Yeah, much better than me.
Best of luck in your fight, Brendan, and I can't wait to see you perform.
Thank you.